I'll describe it real quick. I get a phone call from Cliff, our farm manager. Cliff calls, hey Shawn, the north wall of the greenhouse is blowing out. And I'm like, then, and what I thought he meant was just that a seam had come apart. I'm like, just put some tape on it. And he paused for a minute, and I was like, I heard the pause, and you know, there's more said in a pause, there isn't a word. And I thought, I said, what's wrong? And he's like, it's dangerous. So my exact words were, quit being a pussy and just get up there and do it. So I hung the phone up and I thought, Cliff said it was dangerous. Maybe I should go, maybe I should go check this out. So I put my clothes on and I heard the wind coming. It was coming. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was messing with the greenhouse. And I go out and we had a corrugated plastic north end wall on our greenhouse. It'd been up for 5-6 years. It was getting old and brittle. It had Freddy Kruegered. It just, and there was shit flying everywhere. And I'm like, oh, get the hell away from this thing. Like, let me get the tractor in here. Okay, now they attempted one section of tape. I said, that's it. Get your knives, cut the whole wall out. And so they just gutted it, cut it off. I'm like, cool. We literally get done with that. I walk around to the east side. It's blowing from west to east, okay? So I walk around the west side of the greenhouse, and the frame of the greenhouse has bowed in about 3 feet. And the greenhouse is now lifting. And I'm like, okay, and we're screaming at each other at the top of our lungs because you're getting pelted with sand and debris. And it's the real deal, right? Like, it's the real deal. And it's magnifying as we're out here. It's just getting worse and worse. So myself and Jason go inside and we literally just try to hold the foundation because it's broke the metal welds. It's busted the welds from the concrete where there's plates in there you weld to, but it's broke them. And we're holding on, and it's lifting him and I up like, 1.5 feet, like my feet are off the ground. And I have 3 other guys running around. I had them start on the east side. I had to think about how to do this during this. It was like a tornado is truly what it was like. I mean, it was 91 mile an hour winds just up the road, just like 6 miles. So we were told it was 85 mile an hour. I'm all for it was 85. I'll give you it was 85. I'm not wrestling between 85 and 91. It was windy. And I'm thinking about how do I now the cover has become a problem. The cover itself keeps ballooning up because the north wall's open and that wind hits and and now the whole thing's just. So I said, all right, Cliff, get to the east wall, pull all the wiggle wire and let it go. Then cut it at the top or pull the wiggle wire on the arch, get to the west side, then pull the wiggle wire. Now, if you think about it, if the wind's coming and hitting this arch, right, it's going to flap, 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 it's going to be able to tail, and when you cut it, get it, woof, it should all fly away, right? Yeah, sometimes your theories don't work out that way. Everything worked, except we had to lift up. We have a 4-foot section of straight vertical on the west side, then it goes to our arch. Okay, the wind was so hard, it pinned it against there and it wouldn't let it move. So my guys had to lift it up past and let the arch catch it and then flip it over. They couldn't lift the whole thing at once. There was too much tension with the wind. So they had to do sections. And they started at the edges, which is fine, and went to the middle. By the time they got to the middle, it hooked the very last intersection at the top of the greenhouse. And now I have a 50-foot long, 45-foot wide double pane of greenhouse flapping in the wind like this. And I'm trying to instruct people, but you have to get 6 inches from me and I have to scream at you like we're at the death metal concert of the century in order for you to hear me. Omar comes out to help us. To the rescue, my boy jumps on a ladder, climbs up a 14-foot ladder, leaned against a single 2x4 that's anchored to the ceiling to the top, goes through 3 different knives to cut this plastic off and finally takes one last cut. It took him every bit of 7 to 9 minutes to cut it off. This was a very long, drawn-out procedure, okay? This was hardcore. But he never backed up. I'm talking like this thing is rocking him back 2.5, 3 feet. It's gone crazy. He never got down. And he just kept cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. And he finally cut it. And the thing goes, and then we were going to hit the power lines because the power lines are very close. It didn't. We got blessed and went right around the power lines. We actually recovered it, but if we had not run and grabbed it, shit, they'd have that thing in Kansas by now. And I'm not kidding you. The wind was like nothing we had ever seen. So we came back. After the cover was off, the wind's still coming like some bitch. And I'm like, we can't stop. So I had to quickly devise an anchoring system where we used the tractor and a series of 5 different straps to hold the greenhouse pinned to the tractor. We pulled the greenhouse back to the frame where it should be and pinned it with the bucket and pulled it down. Then I ran the skid steer over and held the frame down with the skid steer. And I said, whatever this is, it's in God's hands at this point. We're all going inside. Every man had, if you have a mustache, it was full of snotty boogers. If you didn't, your face was covered. Your teeth looked like you'd been eating chocolate brownie mix that was liquid. Our ears were still, some of us are still getting stuff coming out of our ears. This is 6 weeks later, I think, 5 weeks later, whatever it's been. So we had to completely recover the greenhouse. We had to re-anchor the greenhouse. It ain't going anywhere now. It ain't going anywhere now, I promise you that. Thank you, TapCon. And we built the north wall solid this time and put new coverings on it. Had to redo the whole blackout system, had to redo all the lighting systems, had to redo everything. And she's back to where she should be. So I never want to experience it again, but I'm glad that we reacted. I'm glad the team was able to get done what they were able to do. And I'm so thankful that Omar doesn't need a chair when he sits down because his huevos are big enough, he just sits.